Hello and welcome to a friendly chat. Today we're talking movies and more specifically franchises. And at what point does a franchise sort of outstay its welcome? Now this is going to be personal to everybody, not necessarily me. I'm going to give my opinion on certain franchises. I'm not going to do every one of them, otherwise we'll be here all year. But I'm going to pick six main ones, which all happen to be in my top 10 favorite movies. And then I'll sort of cover a couple of others that aren't in there. But uh, but yeah, and as I said, this is going to be personal for everybody. So there's that saying that a movie is somebody's favorite, and that's completely true. Same with a song, same with a book, same with comic book. There's always going to be a fan out there for it, and I'm not trying to take that away from anybody or anything like that. But I'm just sort of just looking at various movie franchises and just going, that's where it's perfect. That's where the wheels started to fall off. That's where the transaxle was broken and you're just grinding metal. So with, with that being said, let us begin.
And now the news. Don't touch that dial.
RoboCop: The Future of Law Enforcement. Now, RoboCop's high in my top 10. It's actually top 5. The movie means a heck of a lot to me because when I saw it, I was 12, and I've talked about this when I've talked about RoboCop in the past. I'm not going to go into too much detail. Please watch other videos concerning movies and things like that. But yes, RoboCop. Everything about that movie just blew my tiny little 12-year-old mind. Um, the costuming, like the actual suit, is magnificent. It looks just amazing. When actually Murphy takes his helmet off and you see his face integrated with the back of the sort of head and all that, and you're just like, how do they make that? That looks amazing. It looks like they just stretched his face over the robotics to go there. Now you have a face. Soundtrack is just incredible. Basil Poledouris did it, and it's just some of the other soundtracks he's done is like Conan the Barbarian and Hunt for October and things like that. And it's just epic soundtrack, really great, gets you going. Um, Excellent acting, fantastic acting from Peter Weller, Nancy Allen, Ronnie Cox, Miguel Ferrer, and Kurtwood Smith, of course. Um, Pretty much everybody, like even the rest of Clarence Boddick's gang, are fantastic. Um, so yeah, the movie has a lot going for it. The best thing is that with RoboCop, especially with its title, you can go and watch it for various different reasons. If you're just in a mood for like, I just want to see a dumb action film, with a title like RoboCop, you think you're getting a dumb action film. You're not, but you think you are. And the thing is, yeah, if you just watch it for the action and the violence and ignore everything else, you can go, okay, and it comes across, you'll be ridiculously entertained by it. But if you sit back and actually take it all in and take in the actual political and social satire that's just caked onto it, you'll just like you'll get a lot smarter film from it. And that's what I love about it. It's when I was a kid, I just wanted to see a cyborg police officer punishing criminals, and I got that. I got that to the nth degree. It was just absolutely epic. My mother, who was watching it with me, she got all the social and political satire, and she like laughed at stuff that I'm like, "What's funny about that?" So yeah, years and years later, as I got older and I studied sort of other subjects in school which covered sort of political and social issues, some of these things made sense. Dealing with the OCP Corporation and just how freaking evil they are and stuff like that. You just go, wow, this is really good. There's a lot to it. And then there's also the whole theology aspects of it, of the resurrection, rebirth of Alex Murphy as RoboCop. The scene at the end where he's fighting Clarence and he's looks like he's walking on water. So there's lots of great stuff in there, really really good. And so yeah, like RoboCop itself, 1987 is damn near perfect film. It's just absolutely, as I said, firing all cylinders. Brilliant, brilliant movie, ridiculously entertaining. I love watching it and rewatching it. One of those things is I I have a habit of watching people do videos on YouTube, and it's like their first time watching it, and they're sort of reacting to it. And one thing that does irritate me in a movie that's that age is when they sort of go, "Oh, is that stop motion? Ugh, yeah." It's like, grow up. You know, it was 1987. They had a limited budget. That's the best. You know, and the thing is, the stop motion still stands up. I think it's fantastic. So for the reactors out there, if just just think before you talk. But regardless of that, RoboCop 1987 is a damn great movie. When you're a kid, you always want more adventures, and that's the thing. That's the thing about franchises when they give you what you want. Sometimes it is what you want, sometimes it's not. Now, I don't mind. I actually quite like RoboCop 2, and I do have a poster on the wall behind me. Um, that, now the main reason it's not is I think that poster deserves to be. I was just I had two laminated posters from my old house, and it was a blank wall, and it looked really just terrible. So I stuck those two posters up there. But I do like RoboCop 2. I do like Predator 2 as well. We'll talk about that in a bit. But RoboCop 2 is a decent sequel. Let's put it that way. It's Irving Kershner, director of Empire Strikes Back, directed RoboCop 2. So excellent director. Once again, Peter Weller's back, Nancy Allen's back. I can't remember the chap who plays Sergeant Reed of the Metro Metro South, yeah, Metro South precinct or station house. I can't remember what they call it in Detroit. Sorry. He's back. He's the only through line character. He's a through line character through all of them. Actually, the chap who plays Sergeant Reed, he's excellent. The old man, Dan, oh, can't remember his name. I'm sorry, off the top of my head. I should have checked that out before starting this. But yeah, there's a bunch of people coming back. They do retread a bit of stuff. So yeah, RoboCop gets trashed, which is very similar to Murphy getting, really, really horribly murdered. But there's the modification of interference by OCP by basically giving him all these stupefying directives rather than just serve the public, trust, protectiveness, and uphold the law. It's like all these stupid ones, and it interferes with his ability to actually think and react and do anything properly. So yeah, OCP are still dicks. But they're worse in this movie than they were in the first one, regardless of Dick Jones being the bad guy of the first movie. And spoilers if you haven't seen RoboCop, but come on, it's 1987. So OCP may have been, well, part of OCP may have been the villains of the first movie. Even Bob Morgan, Miguel Ferrer's character, is responsible for Alex Murphy's death in a way. So this is a line of dialogue that says we've transferred people to key locations. We expect to be able to build a prototype in 90 days, which means we're putting these cops in danger, and hopefully one will get killed, and then we can build RoboCop. So yeah, you go, well, even he's not exactly a nice guy. But regardless of that, OCP sort of, it's all about the bottom line and, stuff like that. In this one, they seem to be a lot worse. And they're like really going out of their way to take over Detroit by deliberately just, being horrible. Like the police have gone on strike now, and they're loving it because it's like, great, well, the police go on strike, everything goes out the window. We can put a bigger stranglehold on the government, and the government are about to fail in repayment of a loan, and they're just going to come in and go, Detroit's ours now, free and clear. Welcome to Delta City. So yeah, they're a little bit more overtly evil in the second movie. Plus, there's the addition of RoboCop 2, which is not just the title of the film, but they build another cyborg, and this time they make it out of a drug dealer. Now, some of the good things about this movie, there's some great dialogue. There's some really good dialogue. There's a bit where Murphy and Lewis are following a suspect, and it's a kid, and Lewis loses sight of him. Murphy says, "Oh, he's you know, second floor, to the left," and she goes, "Oh, good eyes, Murphy, and it's as good as money can buy." And those are things like that, and you go, "Oh man, that's horrible." But yeah, there's great stuff. There's great dialogue. As I said, some of the violence does seem to be mean. Though in the first one, it was pretty savage, but this seems to be a lot meaner. But regardless of that, soundtrack's different. They've got the overture, but they've got a new composer. It's not as solid by any means, and yeah, but the action's still good. The stop motion is still great. The design of RoboCop 2 you look at him and just go, that looks like a monster. Like you look at like RoboCop, you look at Murphy and you go, yeah, like if he comes walking down the street and says, freeze or whatever, you go, oh, yeah, okay. But if he's coming walking down the street and, he's not like pointing his firearm at you, it's sort of like, oh, okay, it's RoboCop. That other thing comes, crashing down the street, you're just like, oh, I'm just getting the heck out of the way because that thing's going to kill me. And it looks like it just wants to. But regardless of that, it's good fun. The guy who plays the mayor is ridiculously entertaining. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But yeah, RoboCop 2, there's some evil dialogue from OCP from the old man. Where you just go, oh, you really are horrible. But yeah, RoboCop 2 is a good sequel. Let's put it that way. It's not as good as the first one, probably not by a long shot. But Frank Miller famously wrote the screenplay, and they gutted it. And some of his screenplay was utilized in RoboCop 3. He gets a cameo in this. He plays Frank, the guy who's responsible for making the nuke, the evil drug that Kane, the bad guy who becomes RoboCop 2, is pushing through Detroit. So yeah, it was nice to see him get a cameo, because good old Frank Miller. But yeah, RoboCop 2, decent sequel. And I saw it, I was in grade 10. Once again, I saw it, I was 15. I saw an R-rated film. They really didn't care at the cinema. I didn't have my mum to take me this time. I saw it at Toombul, which doesn't exist anymore thanks to a recent flood. But yeah, it was the shopping centre that was closest to the boarding school I went to. So yeah, that was a Saturday morning. But yeah, RoboCop 2 was a good sequel, let's put it that way. 1994. Now, Orion had gone into bankruptcy, and in 1994, RoboCop 3 finally gets released in Australia. And I was really looking forward to seeing this movie because I love RoboCop. I love I was enjoying all the Marvel had a comic series which went for 23 issues. I enjoyed the heck out of that. I just like the character. I like the concept of it. It was just one of those things that I was like, yeah, there's a new RoboCop movie, hurrah. Unfortunately, when I saw it, I walked out of it and went, what the hell was that? Was doing Krusty when he got the replacement cartoon of Worker in Paris. I was like, what the hell was that? So yeah, it didn't go well for me as a sequel. I was like, this isn't just a step down. This is like they've fumbled and tripped and knocked the ball on, and suddenly it's like we got a scrum now to get back into it, and we failed, and the game is lost. Yeah, I'm bitching a little bit too much. Sorry, but the thing about RoboCop 3 is there's stuff in it that's good, and that's the thing that annoys me about it. There's some actually great moments in there. Oh goodness, I just completely blanked on his name. But the guy who plays the villain in it, who McDaggett is the character's name. He just chews the scenery. He is absolutely magnificent. He's great. He's a good villain. Like he's very cartoonish, but he's a good villain. So he's great. They still have the advertising stuff that they do during RoboCop 1 and 2, which is fun. It's not as good, but it's still fun. once again, Sergeant Reed's there. Sergeant Reed has some great moments. He actually gets to do stuff in this rather than just stand behind the desk in the precinct and sort of yell at people. He actually gets out in the field with a shotgun and helps protect the innocent and uphold the law. So yeah, Sergeant Reed's arc is fantastic. I love that. There's an underground resistance group that's sort of trying to hold a section of Detroit, and all they need to do is hold it for I think it's 3 days or something like that. And if they do, the loans that OCP owe another company fall through, and then that's it. Delta City is done for. So yeah, but the odds are really against them. But it was the first time I ever saw CCH Pounder in a movie, and she was great. She's awesome. She's awesome in everything. But she's great. Some of the villains, the villains, they've got a robot ninja, which is of course you do. The guy who plays him is pretty cool, but it's look, when you look at Murphy and you go, yeah, he looks like he's slow and cumbersome and all that, and this other thing's flipping around like he's a gymnast, and okay, that's a massive leap in technology. But regardless of that, Mako, famous for everything, he plays the head of the other company, the Japanese company that's just bought out OCP. I think it's Kamamitsu, I believe. He's great. He's great in everything. Once again, we've got now Robert John Burke playing RoboCop, and basically why was because Peter Weller wanted to do Naked Lunch, and he saw the script and just went, I'm going to do Naked Lunch, which he did really avoid tainting his legacy a little bit. He might have done something better with it. He may have actually been able to go, no, we should do something. He may have arced up. I don't know. But he's a very talented director, so he probably would have come up with some better ideas. But Fred Decker instead went, yeah, I'm going to do this. And I go, okay, we're going to aim it at children instead of, adults. And on one hand, I can understand why dropping the rating a bit, you get more people able to go, more ticket sales, more money. I understand that, but dropping it to PG was that was in Australia we have the M rating, which is for 15-year-olds, and it's if you dropped it to M, that would have been fine, but dropping it to PG was a little silly. So yeah, RoboCop 3, they as I said, dropped the ball on it. There's some moments in it that are great. There are several moments where I'm just these are good scenes. Why are they wasted in this film? Which is common, unfortunately, with a lot of things. But, and then, of course, years later, they did a TV series, which is completely different continuity. There's a mini-series called, I can't remember what the mini-series is called. I think it is called Future Law Enforcement, which was 4 sort of movie-length sort of things. It's not good either. And then, of course, in 2014, they did a reboot, which isn't terrible, but it's just soulless. It doesn't have the same sort of feel that you get out of watching the original. You actually care about Murphy, you care about Lewis, you care about all of the the life that he lost and him trying to regain his humanity and stuff like that. They sort of dropped the ball once again with that as well. As I said, it's not the worst. It's not like the Total Recall remake, but it's just completely soulless and unnecessary. So for me, RoboCop, if it was just one movie, I'd been okay with it. But I can accept RoboCop 1 and RoboCop 2. The fact that this was the only way I could get RoboCop 2 was to buy RoboCop 3 as well. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's one movie's fantastic, 2 is okay, pretty good. Everything after that, I don't need it. So I don't care for the TV series. I don't care for the mini series. I don't care for the remake. And that's just me personally. I'm sure there are people out there that love the remake, or maybe the remake was their introduction to RoboCop, and that's fine. But yeah, for me, yeah, I only need 2 movies out of this entire franchise, and yeah, that's it.
Nice shooting, son. What's your name?
Perfect.
Indiana Jones. Oh, this one's a good one. Now, I freaking love Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's one of my favorite. Well, it's in my top 10 as well. It's a movie that is responsible for my hatred of E.T. because E.T. They decided to bump the last showing of Raiders of the Lost Ark for another E.T. Showing so they could make more money. And I was really mad because it was the last opportunity I had to see this at the cinema until like about 4 years ago. But regardless of that, that's just why I'm bitter at ET. But yeah, Indiana Jones. Um, it's one of those things that I like the trilogy. Let's put it that way. I remember seeing Temple of Doom when it came out. Loved it. It's dark. It's really dark. And then me and my mum, we went and saw Last Crusade, and that was just fantastic. And it is really interesting to watch them in a row, especially if you watch them in release order and you watch like Raiders, then Temple, then Last Crusade, even though Temple is set a year before Raiders, because it is like this is really entertaining swashbuckling punch on chin action to wow, this is really dark and horrible and nasty and back to punch on chin. So it's sort of like, yeah, it is kind of fun that way. It's just the sort of whoa, up and down. But they're all very, very entertaining films. Um, it is one of those things that and let's put it this way, like everything going for these three films. As a great action, Harrison Ford is ridiculously likable. Um, his like Short Round is great. Sala is great. Um, Marcus Brody is fantastic. Karen Allen is a great character. Oh, Karen Allen isn't, but Marion Ravenwood's a great character. Willie Scott's really kind of annoying because of all his screaming and that, but she's harmless. And then what's it? Alicia, is it in the third one? She's yeah, well, yeah, baddie, so whatever. But regardless, and of course Sean Connery as Henry Jones Sr. is brilliant. And my cat is coming to say hello. Down you go. But but yeah, so yeah, it was one of those things where yeah, you had the first movie came out about was it about 4 years later, 3 years later, the second movie comes out, and then 5 years later, the third movie comes out, and you go great, and at the end of Last Crusade, and not just because it has the word "last" in it, but it did feel like this is the end. You literally have the characters riding off into the sunset, and it's like just perfect. And you go, yes. So it was this beautiful little, box set of three movies where you can just go, yeah, it's a Saturday afternoon. I feel like something to watch. I could watch an Indiana Jones movie, or I could watch all three Indiana Jones movies if need be. It was just really, really fun. Um, then years and years and years later, we find out that they're doing a fourth movie, and I personally was not convinced it was a good idea because of the way the third movie ended. I was like, nah, you don't need another one. And the other thing too is Dark Horse had released a whole bunch of comics set after, Last Crusade, and then there was also some set during the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, which was a TV series that went for 3 seasons. That came out after Last Crusade as well, because of River Phoenix playing a young Indy in the beginning of that, which was a really cool scene. And it was a good series. It was fun. If you like history, it's a good little series because he interacts with historical figures and stuff like that. But yeah, it's one of those things where I thought it's been too long between adventures, and me personally, I'm not a fan of Crystal Skull at all. Uh, there's a couple of nice moments. Like there was during there's a scene where he and Mutt, which is Shia LaBeouf's character, are driving around the school campus, being chased by people, and there's a bust of Marcus Brody, because Dumbhold Elliott had died, and I was like, that's nice, that was nice, but that was about it really for me. It had a good cast. I was irritated by the flip flopping of Ray Winston going, I'm your partner, I'm a bad guy. I'm your partner, I'm a bad guy. I'm a triple agent. I'm a quadruple agent. I'm a dodecahedron agent. It's like I'm confused. I don't care anymore. Just do something, do nothing, whatever. Um, so yeah, it's one of those movies. I think the movie is a mess. Now, a lot of people will go on about, the interdimensional aliens. Sure. Thing is, it was the nuclear age, so I kind of get that they've gone from pulp to science fiction. That I didn't have a huge problem with. Although when it was like the Crystal Skull, I thought it was the Crystal Skulls, like that. You see those documentaries about, and I'm like, well, they go, how did they make this? Because there's no tooling or anything like that. And I'm like, I thought it was about those. I remember there was a TV series called In Search Of when I was young, which was narrated by Leonard Nimoy, and every episode used to be on Saturday afternoons before the news. And regardless of what it was about, 9 times out of 10, it would scare the absolute hell out of me because it would be like, the mysteries of this artifact, and it's like, wow, that's really cool. They don't understand how it was made or where it came from that's what I thought. Those crystal skulls. I thought it was those crystal skulls, like the human-shaped ones, not the weird sort of alien things. But regardless of that, but it is one of those things where, and I mean, look, the fifth one hasn't come out yet, but I'm not excited about it. I'll put that out there. And don't get me wrong, I love the character. I love Harrison Ford as an actor. I think he's great. But I don't want to go see a movie when Indiana Jones dies. I don't want to go see a movie when Indiana Jones is just like so old that he just can't do anything. It was fine when he was weathered, like, and it's that great line where it's like, it's not the years, it's the mileage. I like that sort of, he's tired because he's just, been dragged behind trucks and, knocked out about 15 Nazis and, done a whole bunch of stuff. It's like, yeah, he's tired. It's like, but being tired and just being like, no, I'm old. Yeah, I don't really need to see the geriatric adventures of Henry Jones Jr. But that's just me. And but yeah, for me, like as I said, this is a perfect trilogy. And I know that there's some people out there that don't like Temple of Doom. I reckon give it another look. Give Temple of Doom another go because it is a good film. It is very dark and it's quite nasty, but it's still good adventure, good punch on chin action, and Indy has to, it's Indy saving children from slavery. It's like what's that's a noble sort of mission. So yeah, it's one of those things where there's going to be 5 of these things. The other thing too is there's a bunch of novels set during different time periods. The first one I ever read, it was when he just got the job as the professor at the university. And I think he was looking for the Noah's Ark. I think that was the mystery in that one, and that was a really good book. So there's a bunch of novels out there. There's the comic books that Dark Horse did, which are fantastic. So there's other adventures out there that you can check out. But and as I said, the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, they're not for everyone because they have 2 different actors playing him. They have him as a younger kid, and then they have oh goodness. So Sean Patrick Flannery I think that's him. He was one of the Boondock Saints. Plays the older sort of little bit older than River Phoenix sort of look. So yeah, early 20s, late teens, early 20s. But yeah, it's not bad. It's entertaining. But yeah. So once again, as I said, perfect trilogy. Don't need any more. and I sort of stop at the end of Last Crusade because it's like has a perfect ending for it. But yeah, but there's other adventures out there in other forms, in prose and in comic books. But yeah, and once again, you don't even have to. If you just go, no, that's fine. The 3 movies are all that I need. But once again, I mean, I'm sure there's some people out there that love. I got a friend who loves Crystal Skull. He just thinks it's a great movie, and it's like, okay, cool. They did their job then. I don't see it, but it's not up to me to change his mind. It's like, it's his opinion. So yeah, once again, this is another one of those ones where it's like, I only need the three, 4 and 5. Don't need those at all. Perfect trilogy. So yeah, that's where Indiana Jones Adventures begin and end for me.
No ticket.
So, Predator. This movie was just a lightning bolt of 80s action and adventure, and Arnie sort of just top of his game. It's an interesting film too because it's one of those ones where it's almost like the first time you watched it, you wish that you don't see the alien ship, and it's just Predator, and then the soldiers arriving, and then getting the mission and going into the jungle. Because you just sort of like go, knowing that there's an alien straight up, there's sort of something happening. But even with the reveal of the heat vision and stuff like that, you're sort of going, what's going on here? But yeah, it's funny when you hear the term subverting expectations, because without the knowledge of what they're up against, and unfortunately because of the video cover, you know what they're up against. But hey, it's 1987. What are you gonna do? Yeah, it just seems like a standard military, mission. It's like we go across the border, we save the hostages, we get back across the border, and before anyone knows we're here, and we're going to shoot a heck of a lot of ammunition, just like the A-Team, except this time we're going to hit everything. No, no disrespect to the A-Team, I love the A-Team. But yeah, regardless of that, but yeah, it's fantastic. Even with the knowledge, though, like, yeah, okay, they got to deal with an alien, and of course, aliens picking them off one by one. Brilliant action, absolutely brilliant action. It's really, really beautifully shot. I don't know how Jesse Ventura's character Blaine carried all that ammo that the minigun fight, and someone will go, it's in a backpack. I get that, but when you know how fast that weapon cycles ammo, that backpack's empty like within seconds. So regardless of that, let's just suspend disbelief a little bit. So yeah, regardless, boom. Okay, Blaine's got minigun. It does eventually run out of ammo. And that's kind of good because it's limits their abilities. But yeah, the thing I do like about Predator, aside, it's a great Arnie film. Everyone's good in it. Like, and it's got a very small cast, not counting like all the victims that they leave strewn across the jungle at the beginning. But it's got a great cast. Like, all the characters are fantastic. Like, you've got Bill Duke as Mac, I love Bill Duke. He's great. He was in Commando. He's been in a heap of other movies. When he steps off the chopper, he's like wearing an Armani suit. Looks $1 million. He's just awesome. For some reason, he's shaving all the time, which is just like, what are you doing? Okay. Blaine, played by Jesse Ventura, is fantastic. He's just a big dude, and he and Mac are friends, and they've been through hell together, and so yeah, when Blaine gets taken out, Mac's really, really upset. You got I'm trying to remember the other characters' names. There's Ramirez, who they call Poncho. He's great. He's probably got one of the least sort of things to do, but he's still there, and he is there to sort of ask the questions, especially of Billy. And when he sees how worried Billy is about what they're up against, that's when Ramirez gets concerned because he's got that line going, you're scared of no man. He goes, whatever's hunting us is no man. We're all going to die. And it's like, well, thanks, Billy. Billy's fantastic. He's the tracker. He's brilliant. He's got a good look. Sonny Ladin had a great look. He's just a big dude. There's who else was there? There was oh yeah, of course. There's Dylan, you son of a bitch. Most ridiculously manly arm wrestle of ever in the history of the entire universe. But it's such a great scene. Dylan's great. Like he's a bit sketchy to start with, but redeems himself in the eyes of the surviving members of the team. Hawkins, the radio guy who tells the dirty jokes, he's unfortunately first to go, but yeah, and you look at him and you think he's small and he's got glasses, but he's actually quite competent. So yeah, the whole team, it's a very, very, when people go on about diversity, it's an incredibly diverse team. It's great. And Anna was like one of the she was picked up at the initial base when they attack, and she has the information on what's hunting them because it's been around before. So she gets to do the exposition. Plus, she gets to deliver the sort of knowledge that its blood was on the leaves, which brings the great line of "If it bleeds, we can kill it." Some great sequences in there, of course, of them doing the whole building traps and then building more traps that are like made out of like the local foliage because it can see the tripwires and stuff. And but yeah, it is one of those great stories. Most dangerous game. Man is being hunted. It's just great. It's really good. And by the end of it, you feel like, yeah, Arnie's gone through absolute hell. He does deserve to be, succeed. But yeah, absolute solid film. Like I haven't never met anyone who's gone, oh, really? Predator's terrible. It's the worst of the series. It's like, what? I've never met that person, so I'm sure there's someone out there that doesn't like it because of it's an action film or a sci-fi action film, or whatever, and that's fine. But they'd probably not like any of them. But Predator is one of those ones where it's like with RoboCop. I wanted more, and boy, Predator 2 came out in 1990, same year as RoboCop 2, and same year as Die Hard 2. It was like a lot of 2s came out that year. And I actually really like Predator 2. There's a lot of videos on there where people say it's a substandard sequel and stuff like that. I disagree, but it's, as I said, it's personal preference. It really is. Danny Glover replaces like Arnie as the lead character, not like he's not playing Dutch. He's just playing a cop. In LA. LA is an absolute war zone in 1997. It's set 10 years later. So you got Gary Busey just being all crazy and stuff, and Gary Busey's always fantastic. Robert Darby's in there for a little bit. You got the late Bill Paxton, who's always great. You got Ruben Blades, who's always great. Maria Conchita Alonso, who was also in Running Man with Arnie, she's always great. So yeah, it's a solid. I think it's a solid sequel. The thing is, you don't expect Mike Harrigan to be able to stand up to the Predator because look what happened to Arnie. But the best thing about the Predator and Predator 2, it's a younger Predator. He's a juvenile. So he's not as tough, but he has a whole bunch more toys to play with, which is kind of neat. Just they expanded like his arsenal of weapons. Another thing about Predator, which is fantastic, is that Dark Horse did comic series. I've talked about them in the past, but even before Predator 2 came out, there were other adventures available. And they're all excellent, in my opinion. I think they are really good. Dark Horse did a really good job. Now, Predator 2, as I said, I think it's a solid sequel. I like watching it. I think it's fun. It took a while for a third one to come out, but the third one didn't come out until two Predator vs. Alien, or Alien vs. Predator movies came out. I'm not a fan of those. and I'll probably talk about those more with the Alien, because I'm going to talk about Alien. But I think they are very, very substandard movies. I think they're just absolutely not worth anyone's time. But Predators, I quite like it. Now, it is very much a retread of Predator. Like, it follows many of the beats of Predator. Even with the team, there's like, you look at it and you go, well, that's a guy, the minigun, that's obviously the Blaine character. That's the only difference that the main difference actually is they're on an alien planet. They've been abducted and dumped onto a hunting preserve, and they are all specifically predators themselves. And so it's like the predators have chosen humans that are basically just, the tippy top of warriors, going, well, this is going to be entertaining. We're gonna hunt these guys down on our own game preserve. So with that, it's way more interesting. I know there's some people out there that prefer Predators to Predator 2. I actually kind of like them in the order they came out in. But for me, the cast of Predators is pretty good. The is it Adrian? I think it's Aiden Brody. He's not someone I ever expected in an action movie. Like, he shows up in movies like, just like, The Pianist and things like that, where he's very art house sort of movies. But regardless, I think he does a really good job. Like, he's ridiculously cutting it. I was like, holy crap, he's ridiculously, like, just, for someone who's quite small, he's relatively full on muscles, but yeah, he comes across as believable because he is willing to risk the safety of other members of the team, for lack of a better term, to spot how they're being hunted. And they do sort of get angry at him for doing it, but they can't fault his tactics because it's like he works it out pretty quickly. So he's great. I think it's Alice Braga. Plays like the sniper. She's fantastic. Topher Grace is in it. He plays, a doctor. And I'm trying to remember who else is in there. There's, Danny Trejo, of course, but he's only in it for a little bit. I wish he was in it for longer. So everyone loves Danny Trejo. But I think it's an interesting sequel. I think it's well made. And for me, that is where Predator ends. I wish there were other adventures for the character or the universe itself, but unfortunately they're not all good. And The Predator, which came out a few years ago, is absolute garbage, in my opinion. Anyway, it's just, once again, Fred Dekker, who did RoboCop 3, I don't know what he was thinking. Shane Black, who was actually Hawkins in the original Predator, wrote it. Don't know what he was thinking. They don't understand autism at all. And, the characters in it aren't great. Let's put it that way. They're not as memorable as Dutch and Dylan and Hawkins and Ramirez and Blaine and Mac. It's like you just go, yeah, I remember all the guys from the original one, or just, Detective Archuleta and Mike Harrigan, and bloody, there's just nothing really memorable about the guys from The Predator. It's just, and the thing is, the concept of a Section 8 group fighting an alien, that would have been actually way more interesting, except they were just, as far as Section 8 goes, they are Hollywood crazy. So it's like, okay. Just like the kid has Hollywood autism, which is like not how autism works at all. But yeah, it's and having a kid as a main character, once again, let's dial it back so children can go watch The Predator, and then they've been represented on the screen as, hey, well, that could be me. It's like, really, are you magic and can decipher an alien glyph language because of your magic? No. So stop it. So yeah, so Predator, like great first outing, knocked it out of the park. Predator 2 is a solid sequel. Predators is a solid sequel. Um, and yeah, and the wheels fell off really with the AVP movies. They are just, I don't know, not they just don't work. So yeah, it is very much like a very up and down franchise with the Predator movies, and also the Alien movies, which I'm going to talk about right now. Actually, forgot one with the Predator franchise because it's relatively new. Prey, which is a prequel, and I thought it was exceptionally done. Actually, it was really interesting about Native American fighting the Predator, and they sort of imply that it's like their first time on Earth. I don't know if that really works so much as it's probably just one of their early sort of hunts. But the interesting thing about it, the Predator's technology isn't as advanced. Like they still have cloaking technology, but it's not as effective. They don't have like the plasma caster. He's got like more of an arrow launcher, which is kind of neat, but it still has like laser tracking and things like that. The main character, she's excellent. She's really good. She's established herself as quite competent as a hunter, and her skill set with her axe and things like that is established really early on. So when she starts using it, you don't think, how can she do that? No, they really do establish that she has a very good skill set with hunting and with medicine. So there's moments in it that mirror Predator, but not in a hokey way and not in a remember if it bleeds we can kill it, remember that line. It's just really done well. So yeah, Prey is another one from the Predator franchise that I do actually really enjoy. I completely forgot about it, and sorry about that. But it is one of those sort of it gives me hope for the future of the franchise. Let's put it that way. That you just watch it and you go, hey, this answers questions in Predator 2. Answers certain things. It definitely gives you more questions to ask, and there's implications by that as well, which is implications of what the foreseeable future has for that tribe. But aside from it, it's a very very well made movie. It was on Hulu in streaming, and yeah, I don't know if it's getting an official DVD Blu-ray 4K release or not. But it'd be one I'd consider getting an actual proper copy of because I really, really did like it. So yeah, so that's sort of actually it really does give Predator a one up on a lot more than the other franchises because I seem to like more of them. But I have also a feeling the reason I like more Predator movies than others is there's such like big gaps between movies that you sort of forget, and then they bring out a new film and you go, oh, Predator, yeah, and it's sort of because you're sort of fanging for a new experience, you sort of maybe I give it a little bit more of a chance than many other people do. I know there's some people who really don't like Predators. They just go 1 and 2, that'll do, and that's fine. And then there's a lot of people who don't like Predator 2 and prefer Predators, and then just some, many people just like the original and that's it. But yeah, Prey was really, really good as well. And as I said, it's one of those movies that I had high hopes for it. It actually, for me, it hit every mark I wanted it to. I was very, very happy the way it ended, and as I said, it gives me hope for the future of the franchise. Maybe they have ideas of where to go. There's also jumping back to Aliens. There's Aliens TV or Alien. I don't know if they're going for prequel, not prequel, singular or plural on it, but they're doing a TV series as well. No idea how that's going to be, but I'll watch it. I'll give it a go. But I hope it treats the franchise with respect, because some of the other, as I said, I don't think Joss Whedon did, and I don't think Fox did with the way they interfered with Alien 3. So yes, this is me just jumping back in and sort of just some other thoughts I had. But yeah, so there is an Alien TV series coming out. Who knows where it's set, what time period? I have no idea. I really didn't look too much into it because I'd rather go in blind and be surprised in a good way, or horrified in a bad way. But yeah, so yes, I forgot about Prey, the Predator prequel, which was very, very neat. I really enjoyed it. If you haven't seen it and you do like the Predator franchise, I do recommend checking it out. And at the end of the day, your opinion's the only one that really matters. So yeah.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
So Alien, or Aliens, series of films, absolutely fantastic. Alien is just a brilliant first outing of a movie. It's a horror movie in space, and it follows all the beats of a slasher film just perfectly. It's like, instead of being on a haunted house or being in in a forest being chased by a guy with a machete, you're stuck on an alien on a spaceship with an alien hunting you down, and there's really nowhere to go. Absolutely brilliant, really good. Just beautiful music, beautiful direction by Ridley Scott. Great cast. Sigourney Weaver, Tom Skerritt, there's Dallas, the captain, Lambert, Veronica Cartwright, John Hurt as Kane, who's fantastic, Harry Dean Stanton as Brett, and Yaphet Kotto as Parker. Trying to remember who else is in there. Ian Holm plays Ash, and I think that's it. That's the cast. And Bolaji Badejo, I think it is. He actually is the alien, or big chap, as they used to call him. He's a very, very tall man, and yeah, I think he was a dancer or something, but he moves really interestingly as the xenomorph. But yeah, fantastic movie. It's the great thing about it is, like a lot of people refer to it as either like an oil rig in space or truckers in space, because they have that sort of blue collar vibe about them. Everything is greasy and dirty and lived in. It's beautifully set up. Technologically, it's funny how it's lots of LEDs, like it looks like a Christmas tree. Doesn't matter. I don't really care about that stuff. And I don't care that technologically, we have stuff now that seems to be far ahead of what it was in Alien, which is like 100 years in the future or whatever. And the easy way of explaining that is when people build spaceships, they basically go for the lowest dollar amount. So why put touchscreens in when you can just have switches? So But regardless of me coming up with ridiculously stupid explanations of why technology is the way it is in a futuristic movie, there's no need. But yeah, Alien, fantastic film. As I said, the cast works really well together. Like, you believe these people have been working together for a while, and they have, there's some great stuff with Brett and Parker, who sort of work down in all sort of engineering and stuff, and they're all about the dollar amount they're getting paid, and they do sort of rub Ripley up the wrong way a few times, mess with her, but not because they're just being dicks. It's just sort of like, there's nothing better to do. But yeah, but once everything hits the fan, or when the xenomorph is revealed in the most graphic way humanly possible, everyone's on board. Everyone's like, yeah, we need to survive. What do we do to survive? I like that. And they don't really make many, like, there are some like rookie mistakes, for lack of a better term, where you go, why are you going off on your own? But that it makes sense, like when Brett goes off on his own, because he's got to get the cat, because the cat will set off the motion sensors, so they've got to get the cat. So yeah, that's why he goes off, and unfortunately, that's Brett gets taken out. But most of the times, no one really goes out stupidly, and it's just they're up against something that they really can't stop or kill. And yeah, I always like that about Alien. It's like I like when people do things that are not ridiculously stupid. They're just, or they do things that are relatively smart, and you think I probably would have done that too, but it wouldn't have mattered. You were still going to die. But yeah, absolutely brilliant. And yeah, one of Ridley Scott's best films. Um, so yeah, a few years later, so we get head to 1986. So it's been like nearly 7 years. James Cameron comes along and says, "I got an idea." He had an idea for a sequel. He writes a treatment, and Fox are going, "Sounds good." Um, so he and Galen Hurd sort of get together to try and get this movie off the ground. They'd just done The Terminator, and they changed the absolute vibe of the movie completely. It goes from a horror movie to an action movie, and it is the smartest idea because you're not retreading what's come before. And I think that's why, for me, Aliens is a movie I like more than Alien. Um, I like the horror aspect because I do like my horror movies, but I love the action aspect of basically a group of space marines fighting bug creatures. That's way before Starship Troopers came out. But yeah, so absolutely neatly done. They put in a lot of drama, especially for Ripley because she's been in cryogenic sleep for 57 years. So her life might have stayed the same, but everyone that she knew is dead, including her daughter, which is really horrible sort of revelation in the special edition, not the original theatrical cut. Also, the theatrical cut I will never watch ever again. The special edition is perfect. It's like one of those things where it's like when you see it, it's got like 11 extra minutes, and you go, "Why did you cut that out? That makes no sense." But it's one of those things where we need less time because if it's less time, then we can put more showings and we can make more money. It's like, yeah. I don't believe in sacrificing story just for the almighty dollar, but that's me personally, and that's why I don't work for Hollywood. Well, that's not the only reason, but that's a reason, I guess. But yes, so Aliens, you got Ripley basically giving her report, being thrown to the wolves because she blew up the Nostromo, and there's no real evidence that any of that happened, but they're not willing to, they're not going to throw her in jail or anything like that. Until, they suddenly lose contact with the colony that's now on the planet that they landed on in Alien, and Ripley's sort of freaking out because it's like, she realizes that they've got families on the planet, and so there's children there as well. Flash forward a little bit, and basically Burke, who's the only representative she's really had to deal with the company, Weyland-Yutani, comes along and says, "Hey, we've lost contact. We need you to go with the Marines in as an advisor." She doesn't want to do it, but Burke promises her that they're gonna, if they come in contact with aliens, they're gonna destroy him. So she sort of believes him, and they go on the ship, the USS Sulaco, which is a really cool design. The thing that is really fantastic, and this is Cameron all the way, is everything about the Colonial Marines seems to make sense. Like their armor makes sense. The fact they got little cameras built into their helmets. Their weapons are really neat. You've got the sort of the standard pulse rifle, like standard sort of assault rifle. Then you got the smart guns, which these big things on a sort of gimbal sort of thing, so they can really maneuverable. And then they got flamethrowers and sidearms and all that sort of fun stuff. They got knives, sharp sticks, but but yeah, and the cool thing is too that the Marines are all great. Like it felt like they they've been working together for a bit, with the exception of their lieutenant Gorman, who comes across as very green. Like yeah, like he hasn't really got their respect. The only one who has their respect is the sergeant, because the sergeant is the guy who works, Apone, who's fantastic. And So yeah, they sort of don't really respect Gorman, but they have to deal with him because he's their lieutenant. Um, but yeah, so everything about the Marines makes sense. They're ridiculously cocky because they don't expect to be going into a fight, and there's a question they're saying, is this a stand-up fight or another bug hunt? And when they think, oh, it's just a bug hunt, which means, oh, it's probably just something on the planet they just got to squash and that's it, done. They don't expect to have to deal with something that's going to really mess them up, and that's where, unfortunately, the Marines make the mistake of fighting the aliens on their own turf, and yeah, they get hamstrung straight away, and then they get more than half the unit gets taken out. And the thing is too, you sort of feel bad for them. Even the Marines that you don't get a lot of, they might get a line of dialogue like Crow, or you sort of like, oh no, that guy just got taken out, or Spunkmeyer just got taken out, or Wizbasky got killed off screen or whatever, and you think, oh damn. So you do feel sorry for them because they're not bad people, and they're once it is like one of those things that once it's game time, they sort of pull together and do really well. But yeah, but Aliens is really good for that because once the Marines get their butts kicked, it's just the tension just ratchets up and up and up, and you're sort of like, surely something's got to come good for them, but it really doesn't. The best thing about it is too that like Vasquez is awesome. She's fantastic. Jeanette Goldstein plays her. She was brilliant. She's been in a bunch of stuff. She was in T2. She was in Lethal Weapon 2. She's been the Near Dark, which I know I'm jumping around here on different things, but if you haven't seen Near Dark, Bill Paxton, Lance Henriksen, Jeanette Goldstein. So you got Bishop Hudson and Vasquez from Aliens as vampires. Check it out. It's a fantastic movie. But regarding getting back to Aliens, so yeah, everything about they pull together and they really, really do everything they can to keep alive, and the tension is brilliant. Like you can cut it with a knife, and it does come right down to the wire, and that's what's brilliant about this film, is that it doesn't let up. Like once they basically set foot on LV-426 in the Hadley's Hope sort of colony, it's sort of you just, the hairs on the back of your head stand up, and it's like it does not stop until basically the credits roll. And I think as I said, I prefer this over Alien because I can watch it anytime. Like I just put this in now and just watch the whole movie and enjoy every minute of it, and I can quote this movie probably perfectly. But regardless of that, Aliens is I think is a superior movie, but it's one of the few times where I think it's the sequel is better than the original, and it's only because I slightly prefer action to horror. That's just it, just with genres. But then in 1992, I was in grade 12. I actually won a ticket to this too. I went to Alien 3, and I was ridiculously disappointed with Alien 3. It was one of those films where I just wanted, not necessarily more than this, but I wanted it to escalate. I didn't want it to go backwards, and it went backwards. And the thing is that, we still got Sigourney Weaver. They get rid of Newton and Hicks, which I think is a big mistake. And you got this fantastic cast in there. Those absolutely brilliant cast in there of a lot of British actors, a heck of a lot of British actors. I think Christopher Eccleston's in there. You got, but but yeah, but for me, it was too much of a step backwards, and I wanted something forwards. I wanted the next logical step. Um, Now, I will admit that since since I saw it back in '92 and quite a few years later, I've come around to respect the film for what it is, but I don't like it as part of the continuity. I sort of like to think of it as maybe this is a dream she's having while in cryosleep and everything's still okay. Because it is a really, really depressing film. Um, David Fincher's first official movie, he got really hosed on it because the studio interfered with it. There are two cuts of it. There's like the standard cut, and then there's another cut, which I think it's his cut. But no, it's not his. It's like another cut. He's actually come for like people have asking him, "Oh, would you ever do a director's cut?" And he's like, "I don't want anything to do with that movie ever again." And it's like, and I think David Fincher is a name now, so he doesn't have to go back and do that. It's like, no, I can make my own movies and people will go see it because of the strength of movies like Seven and The Game and things like that, where people go, oh, it's David Fincher. Absolutely, I'll check that out. So, it didn't hurt him as a director. Let's put it that way. It's like people don't go, oh, go watch Fight Club and go, oh, I'm not going to watch that because that's the director of Alien 3. It's like, no, you should watch it because it's David Fincher. But, and then a few years later on from that was Alien Resurrection, which I liked about as much as Alien 3, even though it was stepping up for, it was heading more back towards Aliens than Alien, but I just didn't care. It was, Joss Whedon wrote the script. It's not a very strong script. I mean, I think he'd only done the Buffy movie at the time. So yeah, it's not some of his strongest work. The cast is okay. It's not bad. I mean, it's got Ron Perlman in there. They've got, oh God, I can't remember his name now. Bad guy from The Crow. He's great, but he sort of gets taken out really quickly. Dan Hedaya's in there. He's great. And of course, Sigourney Weaver's fantastic, but it's just not enough. Brad Dourif's in there, or Dorif. I don't know how to pronounce that properly. He's always good. He always plays weirdo, creepy people really well, and he plays a weirdo, creepy person in this. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's like one of those movies that I'd probably watch it less than I watch Alien 3 if I had an option. And then we go to the Alien vs. Predator duo, and the wheels completely have fallen off because there's an awesome comic book of Aliens versus Predator. It's brilliant. It came out in 1990. I talked about it before. I friggin' love it. I still love it. It's really good. I dust it over every now and then and reread it. All I needed to do was make that. They had the 4 issues in a trade paper. I go, there we go. There's your shooting script. Go for it. But instead, they set it on Earth, in Antarctica, in a pyramid, underneath Antarctica. And it's like, they've established predators like the heat, not the cold. Why are they fighting in Antarctica? And what? What is going on here? Plus, pretty much the entire cast of humans are there to die, with the exception of Lance Henriksen, who's awesome. But everyone is there to die, and it's just like, they're just tissue paper. It's like, what's the point of them? The predators act like idiots. The aliens are just, they're just aliens. And the people act stupidly and all die horribly. So it's like, yeah, and that's the first one. The second one is vile, because it's set in a small town, and the aliens have gotten loose in a small town, and they're just killing people left, right, and center. There's an alien that's an alien predator hybrid. It decides to attack women in a hospital, in the maternity ward. That is some sick stuff, which I really am not a fan of. And then the predator shows up, and he's basically there to destroy all evidence that the aliens existed. He's basically like a cleaner. And that's Requiem, and it's not good at all. It's the only thing they add in Requiem is they add the Yutani part of Wayland Yutani, because Wayland is Lance Henriksen, and Yutani is a woman in the second movie, and it's just who cares? That's my opinion anyway. I wanted them to be good. I don't like them at all. I think I just think they're terrible. They're just a waste of time. So for me, Alien and Aliens is pretty much it. And of course, I forgot to talk about Prometheus and Alien Covenant. Prometheus had an interesting concept. I think the wheels fell off probably halfway into that concept. It's not bad, but it just doesn't really make sense in the continuity that's already been established. And Ridley Scott came back to direct, and I'm like, did you even pay attention to what you've done before? And then Covenant, oh my God, Covenant. Everyone who dies in Covenant dies because they're idiots, and it's just like, what are you doing? Meant to be scientists. You're meant to be colonizing another planet, and it's like you step off this ship with, French Foreign Legion hats, not in spacesuits. Like, you don't know about microbes. You don't know what's going on there. All I imagined was oh God, Sam Rockwell from Galaxy Quest going, "Why are you opening the door? Is there air?" And it's like, yes, yeah. Where was Sam Rockwell? Yeah. So yeah. Honestly, the wheels, as I said, they've blown the transaxle and they're just grinding metal. He's down. He's down. He's down. So yeah, for me, yeah, there's two movies in this franchise that are worth rewatching and revisiting. Sometimes I'll give, actually the funny thing is I enjoy the making of, like, especially with making a Predator 3 more so than watching it, too, because it is interesting to see how the wheels came off for that movie and where it could have gone. And there is actually an audio book based on the original script of Alien 3, which you can get through Audible, and I'm not saying join Audible, but it is really really well done. They did it as a comic book, which I have, and I have actually listened to the Audible one. It is really really fun because it is set straight after Aliens. It has Lance Henriksen and good God, what can't I remember his name? Michael Ben Hicks basically do their own voices, and there's no exposition in it. It's basically them just doing the dialogue. But it's very entertaining. It's about 5 hours worth of listening to, I think. And it's not bad. It's pretty good. It's a heck of a lot better than what they did. Let's put it that way. But, there's not much you can do about that now. But, and of course, there was the potential Alien 5 from the director of Chappie and District 9, but that's never going to happen because once Ridley Scott got back into it, it was like, well, no, we're gonna stick with Ridley. And I mean, look, Ridley Scott is a great director, but he hasn't proven that in a while, and well, at least not since Gladiator, I'd say. But yeah, it's another one where it's like, for me, definitely it's outstayed its welcome. But once again, Dark Horse Comics, heaps of Aliens issues, and they're all really good. So it's like, yeah, you can you can watch two movies and then just go, oh, I'm just going to read some comic books. And the best thing about that is they're back in print, because now that Marvel have the rights to Alien or Aliens, but they've been reprinting the Alien books in big hardcover omnibuses, but they're also reprinting them as in their Epic line, which is, it's like half the thickness or a third of the thickness. So yes, Aliens books from Dark Horse will be back in print. So if you've missed them out, and some of them are really expensive now, you can get them cheap if you want other adventures of these characters. And they're doing. And I actually read the Marvel Alien books. I read the first two story arcs, and they're not bad. They're pretty much it's what I want out of Alien stuff. It's like evil corporation, xenomorphs doing xenomorph stuff, people getting screwed over because they do stuff that's stupid, or they just are not well armed. But yeah, no, that's not too bad. But yeah, Alien. This is a little bit higher up on my list than let's say than RoboCop. This is like number 4 on my list. But yeah, I for a series that has so many entries, there's only 2 that I really like, and only 2 I really need.
I say we take off and nuke the entire site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
So another series that has heaps of entries that I only like a couple of, The Terminator. I love the original Terminator. It is, I'd say, a damn near perfect movie. It doesn't let up from pretty much the start to the end. It does not let up. It's just basically like you're constantly puffed because you run out of breath because you feel like you've been running the entire time. Great concept of a robot, cyborg from the future come to basically kill the mother of the future resistance leader that will defeat the computers or the robots or the AI or the machines, I guess. So yeah, Arnie, absolutely brilliant. Michael Biehn, absolutely brilliant. And of course, Linda Hamilton, absolutely brilliant. Plus, Lance Henriksen's in there too. So for more fun of Lance Henriksen and oh damn, I can't remember his name. I was about to say the captain from the USS Reliant from Star Trek 2. But yeah, absolutely brilliant, Captain Terrell. Um, but yeah, absolutely brilliant film. It's one of those ones where you just like it. Pretty much, if this was it, I would have been happy. It's fine. It has a beginning, middle, and end, but it's got a circle about it, and it's absolutely brilliantly done. High action, high adventure, bloody great special effects. Like, I mean, yeah, there's stop motion in there, but the stop motion works, and I'd rather stop motion than CGI 9 times out of 10. Um, Arnie is just an absolute force of nature, and and yeah, poor old Reese is just like I've got to try and keep Sarah Connor alive. Um, Absolutely fantastic. It's really really good, and my cat will not leave me alone. Um, so yeah, 1984, The Terminator comes out. I didn't get to see this movie till 1989. I knew everything about it because I had a lot of friends who talk about it, but I didn't get to see it until I went to boarding school and we had access to pretty much all the movies that ever existed that are worth watching. Thanks to Mr. Collins at my Year 9 dorm master. He was fantastic. He just had tapes and tapes and tapes of everything. He was brilliant. Um, his nickname was Jolly. He was a great guy. So yeah, finally got to see Terminator. Loved it and went, wow, this is brilliant. In 1990, aside from being Time of Guru, just Guru Josh mentioning there, we got really late into getting a VCR, like really late. Like it was Christmas 1990. Mum, just went, hey, we can afford this. We've got a VCR, and and because she's the sort of person that goes, well, we're not going to just have nothing to watch. So she bought my grandmother some movies like things like Sound of Music, My Fair Lady, things like that she liked, and then she bought some for herself, and then we bought some blank tape so we can tape off the telly, and she bought 2 movies for me, which was The Terminator and The Running Man. So mum knew me like perfectly. She just went, yeah, he'll like these. So yeah, like I always joke that Terminator and Running Man for me are Christmas films because straight away as soon as I hooked the TV up, the VCR up to the TV, I was like, can I check it out? We'll test it out. So Terminator will go straight in. Watching it on Christmas morning, but absolutely brilliant film. And yeah, so flash forward to 1991. I'm in the 11th grade. Terminator 2 Judgment Day comes out, and boy is everyone ridiculously excited by this because trailers are fantastic. Like there's oh wow, there's a guy that's liquid metal. It's going to be amazing, and it was. It really was. A lot of people do prefer T2 to T1, mainly just because the action is amped up, like really amped up, and the special effects are brilliant. But I did prefer Terminator 1 to Terminator 2 just because I liked the fact that it's a smaller story. But that being said, Terminator 2 is a brilliant movie. It's really good. And once again, the special edition of it, which has a whole bunch of extra sequences where you find out that the Terminator's chip needs to be switched from read only to read write so it can actually learn. It's there's a sequence where Kyle Reese visits Sarah in a dream sequence, which is really nice. And there's a scene in the future of Sarah like witnessing her son playing with her granddaughter. And yeah, so there's some great, and then some other bits with the T1000 sort of making errors and getting messed up after getting frozen. But absolutely great movie, really good. Like it is an exceptional sequel. Like it is, I can understand why people prefer T2 to T1 because there's a lot of great action. Robert Patrick as the T1000 is just magnificent. It's famous, I talked about only being a force of nature in Terminator, but he comes across as a even bigger force of nature. And he's smaller. His infiltration is way better, but it's his in his eyes. He just looks like he is constantly like a camera, sort of just scanning, looking for something. But he also looks like he's looking through you, like you don't really register as something that he cares about, and will kill you in an actual instant without caring because he's a machine. But yeah, so Terminator 2 absolutely just blew the people out the back of the cinema. It was absolutely amazing. And then Terminator 3 comes out in, oh God, I can't remember. I think it might have been 2003. It was around that time. And that for me, I was like, no, this is no. They basically just put too much comedy in it, and I wasn't interested in that. Like the Terminator was being silly and stuff, like wearing sort of Elton John glasses instead of like standard glasses, and making dated references like talk to the hand and things like that. I'm like, what in hell is this? I think it's Nick Stahl plays John Connor in it. Like he's, they say Sarah died of cancer or something. So it's like, we don't need Linda Hamilton anymore, but she lived long enough to see Judgment Day come and go. But Judgment Day is inevitable, so it's going to happen regardless. And I think that's a cop-out. That being said, there's some amazing action sequences in this, like when they flip the crane. It looks amazing, but it's not enough to basically build a movie around. But the finale I do like. I think the finale is excellent. And if Judgment Day can't be stopped, that's a good finale to have. But once again, I just don't care because really with Terminator 2, it pretty much closes the loop. Now, if they were going to do a third movie, I always thought that they should have done a future film, like a future war film set in 2029, and it is the mission where Connor and Reese and the rest of the Resistance take out Skynet and then basically send Kyle back to 1984 and the Terminator back to 1991 or 1994 technically, and then blow the facility up, and then basically that's it. You've got the Terminator trilogy. It is a full circle, done. Die bar around it, perfect. You can sell it as a box set, but unfortunately, no, they didn't do that. They went, oh, let's just try and rehash T2 and fail at it. They did do a future movie, which is the next movie, Salvation. It wasn't what I wanted out of a future film. I liked it more than Terminator 3, but it's not enough for me to really care about. Despite having Christian Bale in it, he's a fine actor, but his rant on the set was ridiculous. And I don't know, I'm one of those guys where it's like, if Michael Ironside is the head of your Resistance, why do we need John Connor? That's me on my own on that one. And then we go, then it starts getting really dialed. Terminator Genesis, which I'm like, another one of those ones where it's like, it's an alternate timeline this time around. And I kind of give it a little bit more of a pass because it's an older timeline, but I just don't like it at all. I don't like any of the actors in it. Um, Even Arnie seems like he's just tired. I'm just like, I don't know, why are we still doing this? Um, so yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. And then they did Dark Fate, which yeah, is another one where I'm just like, why are we doing this? It's another alternate timeline, and it's like, but you set up something you were going to do with Genesis, and then you didn't follow through with it. You decided to reclock and do another timeline, and I just don't care. So yeah, Terminator 1, Terminator 2, that pretty much is the story. You don't really need to go beyond that. There is a TV series called The Sarah Connor Chronicles, and it is the one exception where I'll go, yes, I really like it. Unfortunately, it got cancelled because of, well, it cost a lot of money, and they wanted to keep Joss Whedon's bloody Dollhouse going for another season because I think they felt guilty about Firefly. It's like, I'd rather the third season of Terminator personally, even if it was only half as long. So it is 23 episodes, 26. Oh, I can't remember how many episodes it is. I think it could be 23, it could be 21. It doesn't matter. Oh, 29, sorry. But yeah, but it's really good. Lena Headey plays Sarah Connor from Cersei Lannister, and yeah, they have a Terminator ally played by Summer Glau. It's called Cameron, and she plays like a specific model or 888. It's pretty good. It's decent. It's got an amazing budget. It's like incredibly good budget, but yeah, once again, alternate timeline. So I can accept Terminator 1 and 2 as a timeline, Terminator Sarah Chronicles as a timeline. I don't care about the rest because they don't really do anything. It just treads water and doesn't really, it's not really adding anything to the franchise, and it's just it comes across as sad and tired, and I'm just like, why are we still doing this?
Come with me if you want to live.
All right, last on the list. I'm wearing the shirt. Highlander. Now, I'm a massive Highlander fan. This is my third favorite movie of all time. It is one of those movies where, and it's even on the case, there can be only one. And I mean, after Highlander 2, The Quickening, there should have been only one. I didn't see Highlander 2 at the cinema. A friend of mine did. Actually, Brad, I'm fairly certain, did. But yeah, it is not a great film. The first movie is fantastic. It's a great adventure movie. It's a great action movie. It's a great fantasy movie. And I'm not a huge fantasy fan, but because it's contemporary fantasy, it sort of works for me because they're in 1986 New York, fighting with swords. But a great concept about immortals fighting until only one remains, and the only way to defeat an immortal is to decapitate them, and you take their power and become stronger and smarter and better and have all their skills and experience they've ever had. So it's an interesting concept. Highlander 2, they try to explain where the immortals came from. Bad idea, stupid idea, really, really stupid idea. Because of what they came up with, saying they're aliens. It's like, why? So it just instantly sort of messed with the continuity that had already been established. So then they basically went, oh, that was terrible. I know, let's do a third movie, but we'll just make it like the first movie again. So they did a Highlander 3. It's called different things in different countries. It's called The Sorcerer in one country. It's called The Final Dimension in another country. And it's, basically just Christopher Lambert and fighting Mario Van Peebles. So it's the two guys from Gunman basically back and in a Highlander movie. Mako's in there too. Mako's always good fun, but it is really just a rehash of the first movie in many ways. there's Highlander Endgame, which is the fourth movie, which is basically from the TV series, and we'll talk about the TV series in a little bit. It's okay. It's probably the second best Highlander movie because it's from the TV continuity, and it's like, okay, that's fine, but still the bad guys in it break a lot of the laws of Immortals. For example, it's only meant to be a one-on-one fight, and they have basically a team sport where about 6 of them attack Duncan, and it's like, what the hell? It's been established that it's only one-on-one. Why are you breaking the rules? But the bad guys just, well, he's the bad guy, I suppose. Played by Bruce Payne, who just hams it up, absolutely hams it up. He's great. Bruce Payne's always great. I mean, he was one of the villains in the Dungeons and Dragons movie, so yay. And of course, Passion 57, he was the bad guy in that. But he didn't bet on black, and that's why he lost. But that, and he picked a fight with Wesley Snipes, and you don't do that. But yeah, so Highlander, and then we have what I refer to as a franchise killer, Highlander: The Source, where once again they try to explain the history of Immortals and where they come from, what they're doing, and for some reason one of them has the Flash level speed and things, and I'm like, why? What were you thinking? And that's also set in the TV continuity because it's Duncan MacLeod and Mythos and Joe Dawson and a bunch of new characters that are there to die. So yes, Highlander, there can be only one. Highlander, there should have only been one. That being, regardless of like sequels, I still love this movie, and it is still number 3 on my list, and it's still just a great film. Everything going about it. Sean Connery, Christopher Lambert, Clancy Brown is just fantastic as the Kurgan, absolutely brilliant. Roxanne Hart as God, I can't remember her character name now. Brenda, and yeah, there's a few other people that you recognise from other things, but and of course the soundtrack by Queen, absolutely brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I mean, they're already one of my favourite bands anyway, but unfortunately, I've never ever managed to get to see this at the cinema. I didn't get to see it when it came out in '86, and every time it's been played, I've missed it by a week, and I don't know. It's just one of those things. I don't think I'll ever get to see it on the big screen, but I live in hope that one day I will. But yeah, but as I said, there was a TV series. Excuse me. And the TV series is actually there's 2 TV series. There was a spin-off as well. TV series is exceptionally good. Like they create a new character called Duncan MacLeod, who is Connor's kinsman, but he's about 500 years younger. And I think he's 500 years younger. Yeah. Yes, he's 400 years old at the beginning of the show, and Duncan's 400. He might only be 50 years younger. It's been a while, sorry. But anyway, regardless, he's younger than Connor. But yeah, Adrian Paul, who plays Duncan, he's great. He's really good. He was a martial artist, and he's really good with a sword. So when they actually do the fight scenes, and they still, for a while, they still do the running, they're running the cable up, and so sparks fly and stuff like that for a while. But because he's a martial artist and he's really good with swords, the choreography of the fights is magnificent. And they have 2, I think it's F. Braun Ash. He's like one of those Hollywood swords trainers. He's like works on every episode, and he choreographs all the sword fights. And there's some magnificent ones. There's an episode in season 5. I think it's called The New Day. I'm not 100% sure of the pronunciation. That's a Spanish term. But basically the term is that when you are doing something for so long and you are absolutely exhausted, but you can't stop. And there's a bit where he and Duncan and the guy he's fighting, who's played by Anthony DeLongis, who's also one of the Hollywood's best swords people to ever operate in movies and television. They have a sword fight using a Spanish style where they stand in sort of circles and then all out outside of them, and it's sword and dagger, so it's attack and defend, and they're going for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and then finally Duncan's just like, oh, the only way I'm going to beat this guy, he basically impales himself on his sword and then just cuts his head off. But yeah, it's but the choreography of the fights is brilliant, and but the characters are great too. Like they introduce some really great villains. And that guy was just in one episode, but they have some recurring guys. There's Callus, who basically wants to kill Duncan because during a fight, Duncan cut his throat, and he used to be an opera singer, and he can't sing anymore because of the damage done to his throat. There was basically the Horsemen of the Apocalypse were immortals, and they were great. That was a good two-parter with them. There's just some really interesting stuff. And yeah, they add new characters on both sides. Like there's good immortals. One played by Roger Daltrey, Hugh Fitzcairn, he's very much comic relief, but he's so fun. He's such a fun character. And the best thing about Highlander, the TV series, is because even if a character dies, like now, they can still have a story set in the past with the character showing up, and that was fantastic because Roland Giff from Fine Young Cannibals, he played a villain called Xavier St. Cloud. He was a nasty piece of work. He was really good. I mean, I love him as a singer, but he was really good in this show. But yeah, there's one episode where it's set in the past, and he's just there. He's not like mainly he doesn't really do anything in the episode, but he comes through, sort of, acts a bit smug to McLeod and that, and then leaves. And I was like, hey, and then I think, oh yeah, but of course he was still alive in this time. So stuff like that was really, really neat that they could do that. So yeah, Hugh Fitzcairn showed up a bit. There was Amanda, who was she was a thief. She was like a cat burglar. She was really cool. She was in the spin-off. She got the spin-off show, and it went for one season. You could see where they were going. It did follow. It retreaded a lot of stuff that had already been done in the main Highlander show, so it was kind of a little bit tedious. But yeah, Elizabeth Grayson, who played Amanda, she was fantastic. She was really good. I'm trying to think who else was in there. Jim Burns, who played Joe Dawson, he was what was referred to as a watcher. They were like a group of humans that knew about immortals and were basically chronicling their adventures. So there would always be some knowledge that these people have existed and they did something throughout history. He's amazing. He's actually a blues singer, and he's brilliant. He's one of the best characters that was added to the show. He sort of showed up in the first episode of season 2. But it was a really good show. It was really, really interesting. And as I said, it's an alternate continuity. Connor is in the first episode. He sort of basically is handing off the continuity to Duncan, and then he shows up in the movie Endgame. But quite frankly, I mean, like, I do recommend the TV series if you're a fan of Highlander, and you don't care for Highlander 2 and 3, then I do recommend checking the TV series out. I'm sure it's on some streaming service somewhere. But regardless of that, yeah, it's but even then, you just only need that. There can be only one. It's a perfect film. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it doesn't need to continue. But the sad thing is that Highlander 2, as a sci-fi film, it's got an interesting concept to it, but it's not a good Highlander movie by any means. So yeah, I suggest just stay with the original and maybe check out the TV series if you're interested. And yeah, that's so yeah, that is Highlander dealt with as a franchise.
There can be only one.
There's heaps of other franchises I could talk about, which I didn't, because some of them have been going for so long. Like, say, James Bond. There's like 25 James Bond movies, or 27, I suppose, if you include the original Casino Royale and Never Say Never Again. But because for the most part they're based on novels, I sort of give that a sort of separate sort of look. And the thing is too with them, I don't like all of them. Like, there are some that I enjoy. There are some that I will never watch again because I'm not interested in them. And that's the same say with Star Trek. There's a lot of Star Trek movies, and I love Star Trek, but with the original movies, I don't care for the motion picture, and I don't care for Star Trek 5. So when it came to upgrading my Star Trek movies to 4K, I was like, well, I'll do 2, 3, 4, and 6. That'll do. Now I'm sure there's some people out there go, you did 3, all the odd movies are terrible. And it's like, well, yeah, I like Star Trek 2, 3, and 4 as a story arc. I think it's brilliant. So, but yeah. So, and the same as say Star Wars. I mean, you know, some people will like go original trilogy only, and some people go original trilogy and the prequel trilogy. There'll be original trilogy, prequel trilogy, and Rogue One, but not the sequel trilogy. It's like, but here's the thing, and this is the thing about a lot of franchises and a lot of stuff that I've been talking about as well with these franchises as well. As an adult, you can choose your own continuity. This is the best thing. Like, the best thing about it. If you don't like Terminator 3 through Endgame, perfect. You don't need them. Ignore them. You know, if you only like, you know, First Blood, but you don't like Rambo 2, 3, 4, 5, then you've just got First Blood. Perfect. So, you know, if with the Star Wars movies, if you only like the original trilogy, then that's all you need. If that's enough for you to have a perfect Star Wars experience, perfect. And that's the same with anything. It's even with comic books. Like, I'm not a fan of what Joe Quesada did to Spider-Man. I think it was absolutely stupid, and it seemed like petty. It felt like he hates marriage because he probably maybe, you know, proposed to someone and she shot him down. So no one's going to be married anymore. It just felt like some sort of really stupid knee-jerk reaction to marriage. But I could be wrong. Maybe he was, you know, happily married. But I don't know. He seems like a sort of reactionary kind of guy. So yes, getting rid of Spider-Man's marriage by the devil, it was ridiculous, absolutely stupid. So yeah, but I don't have to, you know, care about that because I don't need to, you know, accept it as part of my continuity. So if Spider-Man goes through to here, I can go, yay, that's enough for me. And that's the thing with any of them. It's like, you know, if there's movies on this list where you go, I don't like RoboCop 2, I don't like RoboCop 1, cool. Just you don't need to. You know, oh, I don't like Temple of Doom. Okay, well, you can choose the other ones. So yeah, as adults, we can choose our own personal continuities. And quite frankly, I think it's probably best that we do that with a lot of things because it will definitely save a lot of hassle and unnecessary drama. When you go, oh, I hated Crystal Skull, and it's like, you don't need to accept it. You can just ignore it completely. So, oh yeah, but it exists. Yeah, but it doesn't matter that it exists. You don't need to accept it. So yeah. So that's one of those things, like, you know, I want to talk about with this as well. In my final sort of thoughts. Like, yes, as I said, like, there are certain points. Me personally, I believe that franchises have outstayed their welcome, and it's like, I don't need any more of these movies. And as I said with Aliens, there's a heap of Aliens movies and Aliens versus Predator movies and stuff, but 2 is enough for me. Same with Terminator, 2 is enough, and, you know, Sarah Connor Chronicles or Highlander, 1 is enough, and the Highlander TV series. So yeah, I can pick and choose what I want, and the best thing is none of that other stuff I even have to think about. It's like, you know, and it is one of those things where someone, you know, if they go, I really hated Dark Fate, and it's like, okay, cool. Do you own a copy of it on DVD? And it's like, oh no. It's like, who cares? You know, don't worry about it. Ignore it. It's fine. You can still enjoy Terminator 1 and 2 without Dark Fate even touching it. And that's the same with any of these films. It's like, you know, as I said, I'm not a huge fan of RoboCop 3, but I don't have to accept, you know, I don't even have to care about it. It's like, whatever. I just watch RoboCop 1, maybe RoboCop 2 every now and then. So yeah, it's and I think it's probably the healthier way of dealing with it anyway than having a massive, sort of tantrum over it. And I'm not saying that people do, or that, any of you are going to do that either. It's just, just, think about what you like in a franchise, and just think of it like a salad bar, just to quote bloody, Big Trouble in Little China. It's like, just pick and choose what you want, and that's it. It's like, oh yeah, I like Terminator 1 and 2, done. I like Alien and Aliens, done. I like RoboCop 1 and 2, or I like Highlander, but none of the other stuff. It's like, just pick and choose what you want, and and enjoy that. And I reckon that'll make you a lot more happier. But even then, I mean, it's sometimes good to talk about these other movies and go, what were they thinking? Why did you make this? Who gave you like $180 million to make this film? It's like, and how much did you lose? How much did the studio lose on this when they added in the marketing for this movie as well? It's just like, what were you thinking, guys? I mean, the other day I heard someone's talking about another Terminator movie potentially coming out. I'm like, why? What do you got to, short of them doing, as I said, that one set in the future where it's them defeating Skynet and sending Reese and the Terminator back in time. And I mean, even then, they'd need to deep fake the living hell out of everybody, because, Michael Biehn's still going, but he doesn't look like he did in 1984. Arnie doesn't look like he did in 1984, and neither does Robert Patrick look like he did in 1991. So it's like, but, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, why do you need it? Like, I mean, there's one, got the poster up behind, Mad Max. It's like, that's another franchise I love, but, after Fury Road, they're talking about, oh, what are we going to do next? It's like, do you need to do anything next? I mean, like, I really enjoyed the Fury Road, but it's like, do I need another Mad Max movie? And they're doing a Furiosa film, which I'm curious about, but I'm like, but yeah, do we, you don't have to do things just because they exist. And I think that's what a lot of them fall into the trap of. Like, there's rumors of fifth Lethal Weapon. I'm like, why? 4 ended perfectly. I don't need to see the death of Martin Riggs. It's like, yeah, can't we just end things and just have it's? I'm trying to remember who did it. I think it was Retro Blasting. I think it's Michael French on Retro Blasting. I think he did a video where he just said it's okay for things to end. And I agree with that. It is okay for a story to end and characters to end and no more adventures. I don't need to see any more of John McClane. I don't need to see any more Martin Riggs and Roger Murtaugh. It's fine. They had their adventures, and that's great. But yeah, we don't need them to just keep going until they get tired and boring, which I think is a trap that Hollywood keeps perpetrating all the time. But anyway, with that, I think I will sign off. But what are your thoughts? I mean, as these are just my opinions on these films. So if you disagree with any of them, that is absolutely cool, and I'll never take that away from you. But if you like RoboCop 3, not a problem. I won't condemn you or anything like that. If you like Highlander 2 and go, Tony, you're wrong. Highlander 2 is a superior movie to Highlander 1. I'll be like, I want that conversation. But but yeah, obviously, I'd love to know your side of that. But regardless of that. But yeah, in the comments, please, leave comments. And as I said, I only picked those 6 movies because I thought I could be doing this all night talking about as I said, James Bond or Star Trek or Star Wars or anything that's Dirty Harry. I mean, there's heaps of them. But yeah, so actually, and that's the other thing too. In the comments below. Are there any other franchises, ones that I didn't cover as well? But yeah, are there any ones that, you think have outstayed their welcome? And at what point do you think, this is where I just tapped out and went, no more, please. I'm done now. Any franchise, it doesn't really matter. Any movie franchise, I'm cool with. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it can be horror movies. It can be like, I really wish they didn't do Jason Goes to Hell. Stuff like that. You can Yeah, it doesn't matter. Any franchises that have been going for a while, and you just think, why are you still going? But yeah, or are there any franchises where you're like, no, I like all of it, and I don't care, and I want them to make more, and I want them to make them until the end of time. Any franchises like that you can talk about? Yeah, please do. As I said, I'd like the conversation to keep going, and yeah, and if enough people like talk about this, might be able to do something in the future, continuing this conversation. And there's probably stuff I haven't even considered yet. As I said, I just grabbed 6 movies of of franchises that I really like, and have all gone to a point where I've gone, this far, no further. So yeah, please leave comments in the comment section on what franchises you love but have outstayed their welcome, and at what point along the way, like, and this is the funny thing, like, I mean, some people may go, I love Aliens and I don't care about the rest of them. That's like, fine, yeah, that's all, not a problem. But yeah, please consider doing that, and we can keep the chat going. And if you've enjoyed this video, please consider doing the whole like and thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I've got a few more subscriptions this past week, which I'm very, very happy that people have given me a go, and I hope I have entertained you and keep you on, and thank you to everyone who's still stuck with me. But yeah, so with that, I'm going to let you go. But remember, keep on watching, keep on reading, keep on listening. Keep yourself entertained, because there's lots of great stuff out there. And yeah, I will see you next time.
More updates. Damn the man! Save the Empire!